Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being with us today. We are here to update you on the Tech Hubs program. My name is Christina Killingsworth. I'm Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy here at the Economic Development Administration. The Tech Hubs program, which President Biden announced last Monday, is proud to have announced 31 inaugural designated Tech Hubs and 29 Strategy Development Grant awardees. The goal of the program is to strengthen U.S. technological competitiveness by enabling the industries of the future to start, grow, and remain in regions all throughout the United States. We were laser focused on ensuring that these designated tech hubs advance technologies and innovation critical to our economic and national security and are poised to become global leaders in their technology areas over the next decade. We designated places with a strong foundation in their technology area that made the case why targeted federal investment could make them world-class. Consortium included higher education, government, industry, economic development, labor or workforce, and other organizations focused on improving technology and innovation across the country. They met our rigorous criteria and even more rigorous timelines and submitted applications that made us all even more hopeful about what we can achieve here in America. EDA will work closely with designees over the next several months to ensure that they can take advantage of the opportunity to compete for $40 to $70 million in implementation funding in the next phase of the Tech Hubs competition. Likewise, we will be working with the Strategy Development Consortia to strengthen their strategies for a potential next phase of designation should EDA be appropriated more money for the program. As a reminder, Tech Hubs was authorized for $10 billion in the CHIPS and Science Act. We have been appropriated $500 million, or just 5% of the authorized funds. So we hope that this is just the first of many rounds of designation. The program was extremely oversubscribed with almost 400 applications. We ran a rigorous merit-based program to ensure that we were selecting the strongest mix of designees consistent with the statutory requirements. Today's briefing will offer not only a program overview, but will also touch on competition outcomes, as well as features of the most competitive applications. While we won't be able to address any application-specific or other questions, you can always reach out to us at the Tech Hubs inbox at techhubs@eda.gov. And with that, I will turn it over to the Tech Hubs Director, Eric Smith.
Thanks, Christina, and thanks to you all for joining us here today and for all of your interest and engagement and support of the program. You just heard from Christina, and as she said, we'll do an overview of the program. We'll talk about the outcomes in this portfolio. We'll talk about some of the ways that that portfolio is distributed across the country and across different types of regions and different types of technologies. We'll look into the things that made applications really competitive and also talk a little bit about next steps. As Christina mentioned, the vision for this program is to strengthen economic and national security by making sure these centers of innovation, by making sure that industries of the future exist in regions all throughout the United States, and not just that we start those there, but that they grow and remain in those regions. Looking at the phase one program, the way that we designed phase one of the program is that we were designating places as tech hubs and then also awarding strategy development grants. Those were two different application pipelines as well, two different ways of evaluating those, which we'll talk about later. On the designation side, this is really the strong indication of the potential to leverage assets and resources related to a critical technology area to increase that region's global competitiveness in that industry. The main benefit there is the ability to apply to phase two. So that notice of funding opportunity is open now. So those 31 hubs will be applying to phase two. But in addition to that, there's an array of benefits that we Commerce and other agencies are providing to those tech hubs. And we're working on and will be adding to that list of benefits of designation over the coming months. On the strategy development grant side, these grants are really meant to enable consortia to get designated in the future and to attract funding, whether through the Tech Hubs program or otherwise, to become also Tech Hubs at some point, again in the future. Whether that funding comes from us or from another source, this grant is really meant to strengthen those consortia, both in terms of how they interact with each other as a team, and also strengthening the particular strategy that they're pursuing in the particular technology area that they've chosen. On the benefits of designation beyond applying to phase 2, there are a number listed here. The big categories are kind of other sources of follow-on funding, so identifying other ways to fund these activities. Also providing some technical assistance through a community of practice, and also through expertise from some of our colleagues in other federal agencies. Help with attracting foreign direct investment, particularly through Select USA, one of our partner programs here in the Commerce Department. Intellectual property guidance, again, the Patent Office, part of the Commerce family, providing some assistance there to the hubs and their members, and then also export assistance with our colleagues in the International Trade Administration. This is just a sample of what we've released. You can see the full list on techhubs.gov. And again, we'll be adding to this over time throughout the process and the life of this program. Christina mentioned this in her introduction. On the demand side, very much oversubscribed. So almost 380 applications from almost 250 different consortia. Ultimately, those applications covered 49 states and 4 territories. So you can see on the hub side, we had nearly 200 applications, from which we were able to select the 31 designated hubs, and 181 on the strategy development grant side to get to 29. In phase 2, those 31 hubs are eligible to apply, and we expect to be able to fund projects across 5 to 10 of those. On the outcome side, again, the president announced the designees and the strategy development grant recipients on October 23rd. And here's the map. You can see the spread of awards, both the blue dots for designation and the green dots for strategy development grants. These designated hubs cover 32 states and 1 territory. So a really broad coverage here. We'll get into the whole portfolio in a few minutes, but not only is this a broad array of places, it's also a broad array of technologies. Not only does it cover a large portions of this map, but also these particular places vary in a lot of ways, which we'll talk about as well. So of these 31 hubs, again, selected from almost 200 applications, 6 of these hubs, 6 of them, their consortia, include tribal government. 22 of the hubs significantly benefit small and rural communities. 4 include coal communities within their geographies, and 12 include strong participation from labor organizations. And more broadly, the statute that allowed us to operate the Tech Hubs program has some requirements around the distribution of the hubs and the distribution of the strategy development grants. Those are abbreviated here on the left-hand side of the slide. At least 3 in each of EDA's 6 regions. We'll talk about that on the next slide. At least a third needed to benefit small and rural communities, and the statute actually has a bespoke definition there. So small and rural communities are metropolitan and micropolitan statistical areas or counties that have populations of 250,000 people or fewer. At least a third of the designated tech hubs had to include states that are part of the National Science Foundation's established program to stimulate competitive research, so that receive lower than a certain percentage of federal R&D funds each year. At least one of the hubs had to be headquartered in a low population state, and at least 2 had to benefit underserved communities. On the strategy development side, the small and rural and the EPSCoR requirements that I just mentioned, those two distribution requirements applied. On the designation side, we had to have at least 20, and on the strategy development side, we have a target over the lifetime of the program for at least 60. So, we expect if we're able to run further rounds of this program, there will be both more designees and more strategy development grant recipients, depending on appropriations. How do we do against these metrics? So, hit all of them, as you can see here on the right. Nearly 3/4 small and rural. Nearly 50% of the designees included an EPSCoR state. 4 were headquartered in low population states, and 24 benefited underserved communities. And we had 31 total designees. On the strategy development grant side, you can see over 80% small and rural and over 50% included EPSCoR states. On the statutory distribution requirements around EDA's regional offices, you can see those regional offices depicted on the right. So hit 3 on each side. You see a little bit of unevenness across this. Part of this is the nature and shape of the regions. Part of it's the particular technology areas. We're balancing not just across geography, of course, but also across the technology portfolio. Speaking of which, let's talk about that. So as we put together this portfolio, we realized that there were 8 different themes that came out in the designation portfolio around the particular technology focus areas. So we'll go through, we won't talk about every one of the 31, but we will talk about each of these 8 themes and examples there. And so the first being safe and effective autonomous systems. So as artificial intelligence increases its presence in the physical and tangible world, making sure that it's able to do so safely and effectively. This really a lot of these themes will contain a wide array of activities that are centered around there. So you can see in this autonomous systems theme, we're going from the actual sensor technology, making sure that these systems have a really high fidelity ability to perceive the physical environment that they're in, to looking at a specific environment, that being ocean or water environments, and how autonomous systems act there, to kind of autonomous systems writ large. How do we make those secure? How do we make sure that they're interacting equitably? And how do we, with a particular kind of bent towards unmanned aerial systems. Second theme that came out, just 2 hubs here on maintaining our quantum edge. So a more nascent technology area, especially if you're thinking about full-scale quantum computing. But 2 different approaches to continuing to build our quantum ecosystems and build our resources there. Looking not just at that long-term goal of having quantum computing more widely available, but also looking at quantum communications and quantum sensing technologies, and also looking at the jobs and infrastructure that go into actually building and maintaining these systems, even in this nascent state. So really a full-scale look at the quantum ecosystem. 2 themes around biotechnology, both on this slide here. The first around drugs and devices. I think of this as the kind of biomanufacturing theme. So this is really making medical devices, producing small molecule pharmaceuticals, so bringing some of that manufacturing capacity back to the United States, continuing some of our lead in larger molecule biologics manufacturing, and also even in organ and tissue fabrication. Another theme around biotechnology, around precision and prediction. So this is much more about tailoring treatments and leveraging data to improve health outcomes, making sure that we can tailor the treatments, whether it's tailoring specific drugs or tailoring the application of a variety of treatments to the unique person, whether that's on a genetic basis or their personal history basis, making sure that those factors that affect somebody's health are taken into account in the treatment, as well as being able to predict the types of treatments that are likely to be necessary to get ahead and be preventative and more preventative in our delivery of care. Moving on from biotechnology, thinking about our energy transition and accelerating that. This really, the spectrum here goes from energy generation, thinking about offshore wind or small and modular nuclear reactors, all the way through kind of the supply chain for the components that allow those types of sustainable energy generation technologies to be hooked up to the grid, and for that grid to work reliably and efficiently and sustainably, and making sure that we have the ability to store some of that sustainably generated energy in batteries. Another theme here, too, around critical minerals. A lot of resources in the ground in the United States here, but making sure that we also have the ability to process those ores into these critical minerals, making sure that the extraction and the processing are sustainable. Moving on to the last two themes in the designation portfolio. So one around semiconductor manufacturing, four really different approaches here, from new substrate, not new substrate, but from a different substrate material, looking to accelerate and scale up production of semiconductors based on gallium nitride, to kind of semiconductor adjacent technology, cooling technology through microfluidics, to a couple of different approaches to increasing efficiency and flexibility in kind of full-scale semiconductor manufacturing and packaging. And last year, looking at materials manufacturing, so a couple focused on sustainable polymers, and one focused on lightweight materials for large-scale structures, particularly for aerospace applications, and then also how to leverage sustainably grown wood into strong timber structures and elements for those structures. So again, a wide array there across those 8 themes. I think one thing that I really highlight there is that all of these offer economic opportunity, but also have relevance, whether in dual use or whether in our technological advantage and leadership, also are relevant to our national security. I also want to talk about the themes that came out in the 18 Strategy Development Consortia. So again, a handful centered on energy transition, a couple centered on biotechnology. Moving on to these next 2 themes, it's speed and security in our digital lives. So this is a different theme, looking at next generation wireless and security in our digital lives as far as our digital identity goes, as well as leveraging digital representation to help make manufacturing more effective and efficient. And then speaking of manufacturing, a theme here around the future of manufacturing, so additive manufacturing and high precision manufacturing, as well as making sure that our manufacturing ecosystem is secure. And the last theme here, also echoing the designee portfolio around critical materials and minerals, looking at materials that are critical for producing batteries, producing other electronics and advanced devices, and also an approach to materials through pressed metals. I want to move on from these themes and these different technology things to the features of competitive applications and what really stood out to make a strong designation application. First of all, and again, these are all reflective of the criteria we set out in the NOFO. And I think that's still a great resource to take a look at. But some features that aligned with those criteria, really a clearly defined market opportunity. Not just indicating the size of the market, but indicating the opportunity there, and how do the assets and resources of the hub align with that market opportunity, and how can the region actually act on that? And really about kind of how this would be additive. So what are we going to be able to do with some amount of EDA's flexible funding in this program to be additive in what the region is already doing. Impact on economic and national security was key here. So, benefits accruing to the region is important, but also benefits accruing to the entire U.S. So how does the economic competitiveness of the region in this particular technology area not only help the region, but also relate to the strength of the nation? And also really making the case for that nexus between economic competitiveness, economic success, and the national security element. As with anything that's seeking economic growth in this country, the private sector's role is critical. And while private sector organizations were required members of the consortia, it's not just about membership, it's also about the nature of the participation and the nature of the commitments and activities that the private sector organizations and those particular companies in the core consortium, how they will be engaging and the quality and magnitude of that engagement. And so making sure that there is a strategy in place for the private sector to build and have access to the types of capital that it will need, and also making sure that employers are making these really concrete commitments, perhaps around employment or other activities that are really critical for private sector success, but also for regional success across all of the institutions. Another set of themes here, composition and capacity of the regional workforce. Critical that there are workers and talent present in the region to fill the demand of these employers and to actually do the work of getting these products and services to market. So really being clear about what the current labor force makeup is, the extent to which that meets demand now, how that demand is likely to grow as this hub grows, and what the strategies are to both develop and attract the skills and talent necessary to fulfill that demand as it grows. On the innovative lab to market side, really a big piece of success in this type of hub is how the various institutions are working together and how these technologies go from how that information and how they flow through the various institutions and the various organizations as they make their way to market. So really identifying what the challenges are to bringing innovations and technologies to market, which are the steps where that's difficult in the region, how can we ease licensing pathways, how can we make sure that the actual know-how and expertise that sits in researchers or engineers makes its way into the companies and to the entrepreneurs that might actually build those technologies out into products and services, how academia, research institutions, the federal government, the private sector, how their R&D systems interact and how they interact with the commercial side of things. On the equity and diversity side, really looking at this throughout the entire consortium. The extent to which equity-focused organizations and individuals are incorporated in the leadership of the hub, in the governance of the hub, in the hub's kind of ongoing development and pursuit of its strategy, and making sure that voice is there and that perspective is involved in shaping the hub and its work, and also ensuring that the hub is designed and that the strategy incorporates the ability to open opportunity and make the benefits of the innovation economy accrue to all communities and all populations within the region. Lastly here, regional coordination partnerships. These are hard things to do. Growing an economy is hard. Staying committed to a strategy over time and adapting that strategy as conditions in the regions change or economic externalities change. These are really hard problems, especially when it involves coordinating a lot of different actors with a lot of different incentive structures. And so making sure that these regions have governance in place and making sure that they have a leadership structure in place to continue to pull them together over time and to continue to orient around this particular strategy to grow, focused on technology and technology innovation. On the strategy development side, again, this was the purpose of the strategy development grant is a little different. So we look for kind of two different things here. Will it strengthen collaboration in the consortium, and will it strengthen the strategy? That's kind of across all of the different applications. We were looking for just will this funding, are the proposed activities likely going to strengthen this consortium and the work that they're doing? That could have been in two different ways. So that could be in pursuit of implementation funds. So as a designee, how could this funding actually help fill a really clearly defined gap to make a place more able to compete for implementation funding, or more able to find other funding if they've been designated? And then the other way that these funds could be used is to pursue designation. So to organizations and hubs to organizations and regions that were not designated, they really showed the potential for that, and these funds could be used to pursue that. And that really is the goal of these grants in that situation, is to help those places achieve designation in a future round if we are in fact able to do that. I want to talk a little bit about next steps. So designated tech hubs, they are right now strategizing, beginning to work on their phase 2 applications. So again, we published that phase 2 notice of funding opportunity the same day that we announced the designees and strategy development consortia. You can find that notice of funding opportunity posted on our website, techhubs.gov. Strategy development consortia are also working with us. We've begun those discussions so that they can begin implementing their grants to strengthen their consortium strategies. And we're actively providing those designated hubs and those strategy development consortia guidance, of course, as they pursue their awards and pursue their designation. Also, folks who weren't awarded, we encourage you all to continue working with EDA. Please reach out to your respective EDA regional offices and our offices here at headquarters. We run programs and funding opportunities both out of the regions and out of headquarters, and have funding that is flexible across a wide variety of uses to pursue some of the work that you might have proposed under this program, or work that's kind of similar to or adjacent to that and can support the growth of your region. Speaking of getting a hold of us, if you have any questions about today's presentation here, about the portfolio, about the program, please feel free to reach out to us, techhubs@eda.gov. You can also access a number of different resources about the portfolio and about the program at our website, techhubs.gov. We also encourage you to sign up for our newsletter to find out about future rounds of this program, to find out about additional programs that are open for funding. Please do sign up to the newsletter, and you can also find us on social media platforms. We encourage you to follow us there and engage with us there as well. With that, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Again, we deeply appreciate your engagement with this program, your support of the program, your interest in it. As Christina said, we're just implementing the first 5%, the first 500 million of a potential $10 billion program. So if we are able to run additional rounds of this program, we want to make sure that you all stay engaged and involved, and we really appreciate your engagement. Thank you so much. Have a great Friday and a great weekend.